So I don't say this lightly. This diary is one of the most graphic, disturbing things that I've ever read. Not the manifesto, the diary. Manifesto is about 52 pages. Diary is about 288. Now, before I say anything else, I just want to make sure one thing is clear. This is not about trying to glorify Solomon Henderson in any way, shape, or form. This is about understanding and transparency. That said, I'm only sharing some of his writings. This diary included things like bomb making instructions. So I think we can all understand why I'm not showing this thing in its entirety. But Henderson documented this attack. He showed photos of himself in the bathroom with this gun. He shared video of himself in school with this same gun in his backpack. All of that happened just moments before the attack that hurt one student and killed 16-year-old Diana Escalante, someone who he did not know. I'm going to say that one more time because I think there's been some confusion over this issue. Solomon did not know Diana. Diana's family confirmed as much when they told us that they never heard of Solomon before any of this. They believe that Diana just happened to be in the cafeteria when Solomon opened fire. I was hoping to get some answers from this 288-page diary. And while I did get some, I hope you understand that we're talking about a 17-year-old black student who hated being black so much so that he found a sense of community and belonging with white supremacists online. He wrote things like, "I wish I was white," and self-hating N-word award goes to with a picture of his eyes. There are a lot of questions, and many of you have asked these questions because it just doesn't make sense. I thought I'd seen the worst, having read the Covenant School shooters' writings. The difference with Solomon's writings, they're not just words on paper. His first diary entry begins back in October and goes all the way until just hours before the attack. And in those pages, okay, they're filled with Nazi symbols, pictures of Solomon doing the white power salute, and graphic photos of mass killers after they carried out their attacks and turned the guns on themselves. And I know it's not easy hearing these things. Believe me, it's not easy saying them. But this is what we're dealing with. This kid was radicalized, and not just by white supremacists. He idolized mass killers.
Given how desperate you are for understanding and connection, I think most of us in our own nature would resort to something like an online community.
Lauren Ruth Martin is a licensed professional counselor over at Novel Counseling. I talked to her because I was trying to make sense of how someone who seemingly appears normal could go from active student to active shooter.
That A to B that you're asking about, I think there becomes a level of overwhelm, hopelessness, desperation, and lack of resources that then can push somebody to that angle.
You know, a lot of people asked, where were the parents? This kid had a very bad relationship with his family. There's a lot of mention of abusive behavior. Now, I haven't talked to the family or anything like that quite yet, but I can tell you Solomon said he considered killing them after we hear about his family. Solomon talked about how he wanted to carry out his attack at the cafeteria where he expected to see the most number of students, but he also made a note of saying on a certain day he could expect to see the most number of minority students. So while I don't think that Solomon specifically targeted Diana and another student, I do think that just based on the writings, he was thinking about minority students. Now, even if that was the case, this is someone who very clearly wanted to cause the most amount of damage as possible. He even said that he wanted to kill at least 10 people because that was more than another school shooter he read about online. This is something that Solomon thought about for months, but he also, toward the end, began to spiral. He wrote things like, "I'm slipping." His grades were falling. There was a court date that he was worried about. And so one day he just writes, "All right, tomorrow's the day." He didn't know if he was going to be able to end his life, but he knew that whatever he did not want to end up in jail. I think there are a lot of nuances in this case, but I also think that it's an important conversation to have. Solomon found community in the worst places. Maybe there's a way to reach out to these teens before it's too late.
Not humanizing him, but what we're using is this information to better inform how we can see people, how we can help people, how we can make our communities safer.